Hello, this is Fly Mama 777. This is Janice. I'm back. I am actually going to try to use my camera. I have a Samsung Galaxy Note 2 and see if I can record any better on this. I actually do like the way that, my color and everything looks on it. So let's see how much we can get done. The last video I talked about is what type of personality it takes to be a flight attendant. So now what I want to discuss is my training. Again, each airline is different. It depends on whether you're with mainline. Mainline, again, we consider the big boys like Delta, Southwest, American, there's JetBlue, there's so many, and then there are even those that are international. And then what we call regional, which is what I work for, regional airlines such as Frontier, American Eagle, ExpressJet. You got so many different airlines, and the regionals basically we fly under mainline logos. So you will learn all of that in training. Again, the process you to get online, whether it's with the regional or a mainline airline, is that you have to interview. That's the first thing that you have to do. I did talk about in my first video about the interview process as far as making sure that you're professionally dressed from head to toe, reading up on the particular airlines that you want to interview with. It's always good to know about the company that you want to work for. It's just like any other company. If you were to go try to interview at Habitat for Humanity or whoever else, you want to know some information about that company and what they stand for. And then, of course, once you go through the interview process, and if they like you, they will normally invite you to training. And that's when they invite you to training, you get something where you will hear CJO, which is called conditional job offer. And it's a conditional job offer for two reasons. One, a lot of airlines, including mainlines, there are a few airlines that do pay you for training, but the majority of them, I know, for example, American, they do not pay you for training. There's a lot of regionals that do not pay you for training, but there are some regionals like PSA Airlines. They are out of Ohio, I believe. They do have paid training, as well as Delta. They have paid training. So again, these are questions that you will either have to establish when you interview with the airline or when you go onto their website and you find out as much information as you can about the airline. Then after they, of course, give you the conditional job offer, what you will go through is a background check, and then you will do what they call, we call the P test, but it's actually a drug test. And it will range between how long it takes in order for them to, determine what class you will be in. A lot of airlines, what they will do, they will interview on maybe a monthly process where they can get as many people as they can to fill one or two classes before they actually send out notices as to when you will attend training. My training was 3 weeks long. I actually trained in Atlanta. I am now based out of Atlanta, and I live in Atlanta. So for me, my training was 3 weeks long, and I say it was 3 weeks because it was exactly 3 weeks long. The first week we went Monday through, I believe, Friday, and we did have the weekend off. However, even when you have the weekend off, when you're at training, it's not going to be a free-for-all because you do have to study, and they normally give you a lot of homework, and you have to remember a lot of things. So it's very, very important that if you are in a training program and you don't have to go to class or attend class on the weekend, that you do not slouch off, because you will be tested on the material that you went over or that you learned the week prior to. But after the first week, from week 2 to week 3, we had no weekends off. Actually, week 2, here it snowed. So what ended up happening for my class, and there were actually 2 classes that was going on at the time that I was in training. We had the people who lived in town, and when they consider you living in town, you live less than 50 miles from the training facility. And then we had people that lived in the hotel who lived 50 miles or more. And that included people who came from different parts of the country because they applied, they interviewed, and they were selected. And so for those people, they actually stayed in a hotel. And what happened was it snowed, and because of it snowing, they did try to find hotel rooms for my class, who was the class that was the in-town class. However, they couldn't find hotel rooms because everybody who was flying, their flight attendants or their crews were in the hotels, and there was just no rooms available. So we ended up having to go home. I think it snowed like on a Wednesday and Thursday. So we ended up having to take work home that Tuesday evening after class. That we were given enough homework for about 3 or 4 days, believe it or not, but we had to have it completed by the time we went back to class on that Friday. And from that Friday until the Friday we graduated, it was a total of 8 days, we did not have a free day off. In other words, we were in class for like 8 days at that point, 10 to 12 hour days during the day. And then when we come home, we had 2 to 3 hours of homework. And then you had to study at least another 2 hours or more. And I'm going to tell you, that's why it's very, very important that you get your sleep ahead of time, because when you get in training, you will be what they call sleep aggravated. In other words, you're not going to get enough sleep. If you decide that you want to sleep, you're not going to put in the time to study or do the homework or anything, because if you don't do the homework, you get graded on the homework. Also, we had tests or quizzes every day. I mean, every single day. And then at one point we had a drill where we had to learn all the emergency equipment, where it was located in the aircrafts. And with my airline, we have 3 aircrafts that we primarily use, and you had to know where the equipment and how many pieces of that particular emergency equipment was found. So, and on our quizzes and exams, we had to make 90% or above. If you made 89, you failed the test. That means that you would have one opportunity to retest. If you failed the test twice, you were gone. So basically, we did in my class, we started out with 25 people and we lost like 8 people in my class. So when I tell you that it's something that you don't want to play with, there are people that are really, really great at testing, at memorizing. But I'm telling you, I'm one person. My husband, he teases me a lot about, you don't have to spend a lot of time studying. But I'm telling you, I prayed every test. I prayed because there were nights I was drinking energy drinks. I was praying. I was falling asleep, trying to make sure I got my homework done. But I can honestly say that if you pay attention in class, you take good notes, you participate, you will retain the information. And after our training, we actually graduated on a Friday. It was the 3rd Friday after we actually started. We started on a Monday. We graduated on a Friday 3 weeks later. And we had the final exam on that day. And so how we found out, they had everyone to come back in, and actually I think we did have 1 or 2 people who, no, we didn't have anyone that didn't make it. that in our class on the final exam. It was the exam before. But what they did, they called us back in the classroom and they told us at first, well, we're sorry to tell you, all you guys, you know, you didn't pass. But then they flashed on the board across on the screen that congratulations, class, you know, what our class was. And we got to dance and we had a good time because I'm telling you, everybody was just so excited. But we didn't have time to, you know, linger. We had the graduation ceremony, and it was unfortunate due to our security procedures. We were not allowed to have family and friends come. So it was just our class, and our trainers were the ones that actually pinned us and everything. But it was really, really nice. They ordered us cake. They catered food for us. We came dressed in our full dress uniforms, and I mean, we were just so happy. However, we couldn't, you know, stop and rejoice long because we had to go home and prepare to pack. We did find out around the first week, that first Friday, we found out about our, you know, where we were going to be assigned. And again, as I mentioned, none of us got Atlanta. I actually got assigned to Dulles. And so after we graduated, some of the people who were in that stayed at the hotel, they actually started their initial operations experience, which we call IOE, the next day, which was on a Saturday. And what an IOE is, the FAA, Federal Aviation Association, they require that flight attendants, that we have to have 5 hours of flying time before we're allowed to, you know, fly officially as a flight attendant. And so it depended on where you were assigned. But I, for instance, I got deadhead. You'll hear the word deadhead when you come on board. What deadhead is say you're flying from Atlanta to Chicago, and what they're going to do is put you on a flight that you don't work on the flight, but you're going to be positive space on that flight. In other words, you will have a seat, and then they will fly you to and your crew, whether it's going to be at least you and one other flight attendant, or either just you, your captain, and the pilot, or sometimes it might just be you, and you might be meeting your crew at the destination that they're flying you to. And so I flew deadhead from Atlanta to Dulles, which is where I was going to be assigned up in Virginia. And I actually had to meet my crew there. I actually got to go. We have what we call crew lounges, and that's where you will go to, I don't want to use the word hang out, but it's sort of where you will go to eat lunch, or if you have to wait until it's time for you to go fly. You can sit in there if you don't want to sit upstairs in the gates, because a lot of times when you're a flight attendant and you're sitting up in the gates, and then passengers will see you in uniform, you know, they don't know that you're a flight attendant, or sometimes they do know. They may know that you're the flight attendant waiting for that particular flight to come in, and they will start to ask you a million questions. So that's another reason why a lot of times that it would be better to go to the flight room, or if you can find some place quiet that you can sit and wait until it's time for you to go to your gate. So I went to the crew lounge. I found out who my in-flight chief in-flight flight attendant was, and then I basically had to go to my gate at a certain period of time. Normally they want you, if you're flying and you're at your home or your domicile, you will need to check in, what we call check in, at least 60 minutes prior to your flight actually leaving. So in other words, if you had a flight that was leaving, like my flight was leaving that day at, I believe we left somewhere like 3:30. It was supposed to be 3:30, but it was actually late. It was a little bit later than that. But you would have to, for me, I would have to be dutied in. That's what we call duty in, report in, an hour before. So if my flight was at 3:30 or 15:30, because we use military time, I would need to duty in at no later than 14:30. Now, once you fly from your domicile and you go to, wherever other place that you're going to fly into, whether it's international or stateside, the next day, if you're flying from that area, you will normally, with your crew, will need to duty in 45 minutes prior to the flight leaving. And most of the cases, you're going to be staying at a hotel. You and the whole crew will be staying at the same hotel. And normally the captain will establish a time for the hotel to get the van for us. Normally what will happen, we try to ride the van where it's just the crew, because a lot of times if you're riding with other people that are staying at the hotel, they want to know what room you're staying in, they want to know all of this different kind of stuff. So most of the time the hotels are really good about allowing us to be able to get the shuttle by ourselves back and forth to the airport. And then from there, you just fly until it's either time for you to return back to your home base. And each time that you leave your home base and go to one place, it's called a leg. And then if you leave that place and go back to your home base, that's called a second leg. We call that a turnaround. That's basically if you fly, say, from here to Charleston or Columbia, South Carolina, and then you pick up passengers and you turn back around, or you may not pick up passengers, or you just may drop off passengers and just turn back around. That's called a turnaround, or, some people call it a round trip, but we call it a turnaround. So there will be a lot of phrases that you will hear, that terminology, and you may say, well, how will I learn all of those? Trust me, once you go through training, and even what you don't learn in training, once you start flying, you're around your flight crew or around the crew room, and you ask questions, and people, they're very friendly and they're very helpful, so they'll let you know. So I'm coming up on 17:30 now, so I think I'm gonna stop this one and see how it turns out, and then I'll try to come back again and pick up where I left off at that. So with that, I'll talk to you later. Peace and blessings.